Today in the house. Poor Danny has had a wet flange for years and years and can't work out where the water's coming from. But our clever Scott has identified what's causing the problem. And he's also discovered something else.
Through the keyhole today.
Good afternoon and welcome to today's 3 at 3 with me, Scott Keenan from Keenan Able Property Services. Today we're at the Oakbank Guest House. We are looking at a damp wall which we are going to turn into an interior feature. Historically the wall's been, the plaster's been wet for a long time and source of the ingress of water has never really been known. So when the client asked me to have a look at it, I thought the best thing to do was really to take off the plaster and find out what the cause of the problem was.
Brought you outside to have a look at the cause of the problem. When we took the plaster off from the inside of the wall, got a call off the client to say come and have a look because it was raining and we could see that the weather was getting in through the side of the window here and at the top of the window. And the causes of that was that the render had failed at the top, so I've taken all the loose render off. It was a larger area than I was hoping, but once I was up there I could tap the render and could hear that it was hollow, so it hadn't bonded to the wall properly, so all of that had to come off. Also underneath the lintel over the window, where it had been rendered, it didn't have a drip bead on it, which meant that any rain coming down the face of the wall was just tracking back and it was getting into the window. But again, similar issue here at the top, where the water can just run under the window head and get back in and rot the window for future problems. But we'll fix that in due course.
So we're going to be using Gyp Rock Easy Fill, which is a type of plaster Paris. It's very fine, it's quick drying, and it's really easy to sand. It doesn't have as much shrinkage as the other products. So we're going to mix it in a nice deep tub. Just some fresh water. PPE, of course. Need to have goggles on for this because you might get some dust in your eyes. And being any sort of powder, it will dry your hands and maybe crack your skin if you've got sensitive skin like me. I'm not going to mix a huge amount, a small scoop there, a drop of water, add a little bit of time. As always, it's easy to add more than it is to take it out. So looking for like a cream cheese consistency. If you can find a tub that's got square corners, it makes it so much easier when you're mixing because obviously this point can get to the corner. If it's rounded, you'll struggle and you get lots of unmixed powder in the corners. It's just about there. Other tools we've got are 3 different thicknesses of these are actually pointing trowels for brickwork. It's been quite good for this project, be able to get into the little nooks and crannies. And I've got a large trowel here as well, just in case I need it. There will be bits of plaster that will get onto the chrome trim, so I've got some wet wipes here just to wipe that off before it dries. Okay, let's go through and do the plastering. So we've got our mix here of Easy Fill. It's quite stiff consistency. Just going to squidge that in place. Just apply it for now, we'll work it in a moment. Let's wipe the excess off, and then with a combination of different size trowels, I'm going to work it into the little nooks and crannies here. Pressing down quite firmly. Not going to be able to get a smooth finish straight off. It's going to take a little bit of working, but if we get the area covered As long as it's adhered to the old mortar below firmly. Once it's gone off, we can sand it back and get that looking good, ready for painting. So we've got the first layer on now, the top, sorry, the bottom and the two sides using these two trowels. I'm going to use the smaller one of the family, just at the back so I can get into all the wee spaces. So, come in closer. So it's just so I can push it in at the back, just make sure it's all going to be even. Squeeze that lump in there. As I say, we're going to sand down the peaks, but we want to make sure that all the troughs and the valleys are filled. So that's the principle. I'm going to get step ladder and I'm going to finish off the rest of the sides. I'll use a completely different material for the top. Where that hole is much bigger, we'll use some browning plaster, which is very rough. It's quick drying again, but it'll fill a big area quite quickly. So finally, just to complete this section, I'm going to use gold standard wet wipe and just clean the excess plaster off the chrome. So just wrap it around your finger and just run it along. There we go. So tomorrow, once this is dried, I can sand it down, then I can prime it, and then it's ready for the guest house owner, Danny Thompson, to paint it, and ready for the next guest coming at the weekend. Let's go meet Danny. We're here with Danny Thompson, owner of the Oakbank Guest House here in Bowness on Windermere. Danny, thanks very much for allowing us to film today and for carrying out the repairs for the wall downstairs. I think it's brilliant that now you're allowed to open again after lockdown. Tell us a little bit about how lockdown has been for you from March leading up to now.
Yeah, like everybody, it was a very quick and sudden closure. You know, on the Friday it was all of a sudden we'd like you to close, and then by the Saturday we'd taken the decision to close anyway because we didn't think it was appropriate to stay open. And so, what was it, 22nd, 23rd of March, that was it. We were closed, no more business. Hundreds of cancellations that had to be processed and people looked after.
So now the government have allowed, they've given the metre and a half of recommended social distancing. Yeah. We're about there. And guests are flocking. It's great to see so many people back in Bowness. And how are your bookings taking off?
Yeah, they've gone absolute crazy. We opened the first weekend. We just let 6 rooms because we wanted to see, you know, how we could cope with it and how we would operate social distancing, etc. It all went well. We had a large dining room, so that made it easy. We can get 7 tables in with actually easily sort of 2 metres apart. Yeah, one of the added advantages that we got out of lockdown was in an old building like this, you get problems, and we had a recurring damp problem on a wall in the building. And lockdown enabled us to take a more detailed look at it. And Scott came in, did some investigation work, and not only was able to solve the problem, but in doing so, he discovered that if we stripped and revealed a wall, it was a Lakeland stone. And it's now actually a feature of one of the bathrooms. And the guests are already commenting on what a lovely feature it is in the bathroom in room 14. So that was an added bonus.
How many years have you had the problem in that room?
On and off for the last 5 to 10 years. Yeah. Every time you make a repair or somebody makes a repair, it's not really a full repair. and then sure enough, the following winter it starts again.
Proof will be in the pudding if we crack it this time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'll be ecstatic. That's for sure.
Thanks so much, Danny. Thanks for letting us film here. That's it for today. Join us next week for 3 at 3. Don't know where we're going to be yet, but have a great week. If you have any projects that you'd like us to look at for 3 at 3, please get in touch with us via the Facebook page.
Problem solved. How magic is that? You decide.